ICP holders, what are we waiting for? Well, that is quite literally the question that we're going to be talking about and hopefully answering today, because of course the crypto market has started to pop, but we really haven't seen anything too special coming from ICP, at least up until this point. Now, I do think there is always kind of that chance that we do see it jump at any moment, just because that seems to be kind of how crypto works. But I want to take a look at a couple of different things that we are seeing that I think really are probably going to be the main drivers impacting ICP's movement over the next coming weeks, months, years, on and on. So I think a lot of people kind of understand, and I think it's widely accepted to a degree, that ICP is a long play. However, of course, we do want to see ICP's price continue to do well over kind of a shorter period of time, especially when things start to turn a little bit more bullish within the crypto market. And so that is kind of ideally what we're going to be looking for over this, kind of coming days, weeks, months. So starting out, if we take a look here, we can see this is probably the biggest thing, at least in my mind, that we're going to be looking for up until this point, is where are we at in altcoin season. We are currently not in altcoin season. You can actually see, aside from this kind of like very short spike here on the 21st of July, we really haven't even been much over this kind of 50 range, which would be kind of like we're closer to altcoin season than Bitcoin season. You can see right now we are kind of at 41, so we're kind of bouncing between the two after coming out of a period of time where basically for about 4 months we were very much like almost fully in Bitcoin season. Obviously we saw kind of some spikes out here and there, but this was very much kind of Bitcoin season only. Now we're kind of in a more balanced type of environment, and I think this is very clear to see by like ETH Bitcoin obviously getting outperformed. We're seeing just the overall altcoins, like the total to market cap, things like that, they're holding higher highs. When Bitcoin does kind of start to consolidate or even retrace a little bit, we see it making similar moves, not bleeding out kind of larger in comparison. But so we can kind of see that the market overall is becoming slightly more favorable for altcoins. However, you will notice if we go take a look at the ICP chart, still nothing is really happening here. We could see there's a couple of different things I want to take a look at in particular. Obviously, the first one is this kind of first level here. We've basically been locked into this kind of range trade basically ever since about like the beginning of March through now, and we've not been able to break out of this range trade really either above or below. You can see here we've got a couple of wicks on the downside, a couple of wicks on the upside as well, but overall basically between by about like $4.50 and about $6.30 we are basically completely locked and have been. You can see here it does look like we're starting to put in kind of slightly higher highs kind of on the daily charts here. So that is, of course, a good thing for us to see. We also could see, we had kind of higher highs going. This was not a higher high, so not totally kind of following here on the high side as well. But we are starting to see, we're consolidating a little bit. We're kind of just bouncing around within this range. I think it's good because obviously we've seen, like we were bleeding off for a decent bit for a while. We've completely stopped that. But we have been kind of range bound in a market otherwise, while the rest of the market has recovered a fairly decent bit. So we are kind of patiently awaiting something to happen here, whether it's a break up or a breakdown. Given the strength that we are seeing from altcoins, I would imagine that we see a break up eventually. But again, when this happens for sure, we don't really know. And then if you can see here, we've got another kind of strong level of resistance kind of at this like $7.75 range. Again, more on that here in 1 second. But you could see, this is kind of the next major level of resistance. After that, obviously there's going to be levels of support and resistance all the way up, kind of climbing back up to some of these previous highs. But really this $7.75 range, and really even more importantly about the $6.30 range, these are the absolutely major levels of resistance that we have to get through. From there it becomes a little bit more kind of smooth sailing to kind of see a move back up to the upside. And I do think currently there's a bunch of either accumulation or distribution going on here, and I think if when we do break above this, we could see it move with some pretty decent volume up to the upside here. So we will have to see, again, overall only time will tell. But for right now, we're seeing a pretty boring chart here for ICP. And so that's essentially, kind of what are we waiting for? And I think there are some things here. I think at this point, just because, we've obviously seen, caffeine Caffeine AI release. We've seen the Oizy wallet make a lot of strides, things like that. We haven't really seen kind of the market kind of gravitate onto any of that yet. And so I do think, at least for right now, this is going to be probably a fairly heavy like a narrative play. And we just need to wait for that narrative to kind of start to hit. Usually when it does hit, people will really grab onto it. And frankly, with these types of projects, the tech itself is of course very compelling, but with the price history that we've seen, it makes it really hard for people to kind of grab on and believe. Usually people believe in green candles more than anything else. And so I do think kind of when we start to see some of this breakout, if we start to see some price momentum kind of following us along as we start to move up the chart, that is going to kind of help actually make the price appreciation even stronger, because not only is there a strong narrative, not only are we seeing green candles, but we're also seeing we're also seeing a really strong tech backing to it as well, that I think people might start to understand a little bit. So that is one thing that, I kind of think about a little bit as well, is we'll kind of have to see how it goes. If you are interested, of course, we've been really kind of locked in this range bound trading for the past really long time. But if you are interested in trading ICP, whether it's leverage, whether it's spot, whether it's anything like that, you can feel free to use my link to BTCC or BloFin in the description below. BTCC, though, offering some really incredible deposit rewards if you are interested. A 10% bonus, basically 10% free money on your first time deposits, which is of course a fantastic deal, in addition to the $10,000 in deposit and volume bonuses. So if you are interested, of course, all of those are going to be in the description below. Moving along, we can see actually DFINITY volume exceeds 84 million. And again, this is ICP's volume. So again, a pretty decent jump for ICP. If you look, actually, I guess we don't have the volume here, but this is pretty substantial for ICP. If we look at CoinGecko, you'll see it's still relatively low compared to some that we've seen in the past. However, it is looking pretty good, just kind of relative to what we've seen from it in the past as well. So if we go back here, we will find ICP down kind of around the 49th spot here. You can see 62 million in volume, a small fraction to what we're seeing from some of the larger ones above, but still a pretty decent boost for ICP itself. So we will have to kind of see what happens here with ICP. You can see actually, pretty strongly outperforming some of the ones below. But again, volume still relatively low compared to some of these other large ones, which again, this is something that we would want to see continue to spike up. But I do think volume will start to spike when we see something less boring going on, frankly. So we'll have to take a little bit closer of a look there once that starts to happen. And then again, kind of similar to what we have seen, or what I was talking about in the chart, we could see here CW8900 also kind of in agreement with me here that the real bull run in ICP begins after the breakout of 775, because again, you can see here lots and lots of difficulty in essentially like liquidity, price movement, a lot of that type of stuff within this range. So if we start to break past this, that's when I think we can start to see things get pretty crazy. So overall, we'll have to see. Obviously, things are looking pretty interesting. Frankly, looking pretty boring for ICP in an otherwise fairly exciting market, which I think is, kind of maybe dampening some spirits a little bit. Obviously, I don't like to see price basically do nothing while the rest of the market is running fairly well. And so we do have to always keep this in mind, that if we don't see things move, ICP's opportunity may be lost, at least in this market. And we can, of course, kind of always come back in the next market. But for right now, so much of things are hype and momentum based, particularly when we start to get into the more greed based parts of the market. We do always need to take a very close look. So of course, I do still kind of believe in the underlying and the fundamental value of the ICP project, what DFINITY is building, a lot of that type of stuff. But there is definitely, it's still crypto, right? There are definitely some kind of, emotions and narrative plays at work here. And so we just want to be keeping a very close eye on that. So overall, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, all that type of good stuff, as well as drop any comments that you may have. I do try to read and respond to all of those. I'd love to hear your thoughts of kind of where we're at here with ICP. Do you think that, we're kind of getting to that point where it might be best to kind of look forward to next cycle, and we should be kind of locking up for that, kind of 4 to 8 year range with some staking? Do you think that, that this is kind of the final bit, kind of lulling people to sleep before an explosive move? what do you think that we're seeing here? I'd love to hear you guys' comments of kind of thoughts here for ICP. So overall, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.